So let me welcome everyone and remind everyone that this is an interview series that we're doing and that it's sponsored by the Academy of Professional Dialogue, which are nicely hosting it for us with Jane and Bobby's help. We're doing one of these a month, we are asking anyone that is not a member of the Academy to check in the chat. And Jane, if you'll do Bobby's task of putting in the chat something about the Academy. And one of the things that the Academy is doing is offering a free membership for 3 months to people who would like to try out being a part of the Academy. So feel free to take advantage of that. I also want to mention the conference, which is October 26th through the 30th, the virtual conference. So feel free to look also online about the information about that conference that's coming up. So with that, let me turn it over to Linda, who is going to introduce Eelco for us.
Okay, can we ask everybody to turn off their video cameras and turn off their sound as well? And that will kind of help during this interview process. Thank you.
Well, it is quite an honor to introduce Eelco de Geus. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Eelco, yeah.
Eelco. I got that part.
Okay.
Yes. I first got to know Eelco as part of a committee where we were looking at standards for Bohm dialogue. And I always knew that he was also incorporating many different modalities in his work. And so it's quite an honor to see everything that he's been doing. He started out as a speech therapist and found his way to dialogue that way. He has also become a family counselor. He's a therapist. He has studied systemic work, and I'm assuming you've studied families constellation work. That seems like, yeah. So he's put that all together, and he now works in organizations as coach and as a consultant. He founded the Dialogue Academy Vienna, and has quite a lot of courses. If anyone goes on his website, I was quite impressed. So he has also authored a book called In Dialogue, Relational Quality as the Source for Transformation. Unfortunately for us who speak English, it's in Dutch, but soon to be in German. I hope you are going to translate it at some point, maybe.
maybe.
In English. And he's also a musician, and he has a CD, and if we're lucky, he'll put the link for his CD in the chat, as well as the link for his process that he's going to be using with us today. So, Eelco, we're only going to give about 15 minutes to interviewing you because you're going to lead us through a process, which I'm sure we're all very interested in having. Maybe tell us from your background, do you hold dialogue as central and you use these other modalities to enhance that work, or is it the other way around? Or how do you hold your work with dialogue and these other modalities?
Well, maybe it's good to say that I'm kind of from nature, I'm an eclectic person. So I study in different directions. I have to change my view. I don't know how I do it. I see myself as strange. How can I see?
No, you are fine. But if Harold and Martin and Hugh, would you turn off your video? Then it'll just be the interviewers, and that'll be up. That would be helpful. So then but you're fine. We can see you with no trouble.
What do I put? Gallery or?
No, leave it like it is. You're fine.
Leave it like it is. Yeah, you're fine. Other people can put you as the speaker, but it's probably best for you to be in gallery.
Okay, well, I'll be in gallery. Okay. Yeah. Well, so to your question is, I've gone a long way through different methods and professions, you could say, and in the end, dialogue is my central focus. So I always ask me the question when I did one method or one school or one thing, I always ask me the question, how does it contribute to relationship, and how does it contribute to communication? So now I'm almost 60 years old, and when I look back, I can say it always has been about dialogue, it seems. And now when I work with constellation work, for example, it's all at service of the dialogical field to improve dialogical quality. And well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm interested. I know that you worked initially with people who stuttered,
Right.
and I was really curious about that. If dialogue is involved in your work, was that involved in your work with people that stuttered as well?
Well, that's very interesting that you asked that. You know, I was a speech therapist and specialized very early in the area of stuttering. And I was very touched by this problem, you know, because stuttering is a very interesting symptom, because when people stutter, they do not only interrupt their flow of speech, they also interrupt their flow of meaning. You know? So when we stutter, for example, when I stutter to you now, I would say I stutter, then you feel that something is interrupted, and I feel that something is interrupted. And when I do not stay relaxed, I go into a fight, I go into my own world. So to say, I fragment myself in the communication. So I cut myself off from the field I'm in with you, because I have a problem. I have to get through something. And you as a listener, you also feel something strange happening in the field between us. Something is disturbing. You get in stress maybe also, or you are going to want to help me or whatever. You start a mental process like, what's going on? How do we go on? You know,
Yes.
how do we deal with this stuff? So when somebody stutters, so many things happen in the field of relationship we have in that moment, that we get lost very, very quickly. And that was what interested me very much when I worked with stuttering people and stuttering children. It was so hurtful, you know, to see how we lose the flow of communication and fragment into a struggle.
Yes.
And we cannot go on. Maybe you can put out the.
Yeah.
Need to put them on mute.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the stuttering for me was the doorway into the question, how does that work? This staying in contact, this communing together, this how do I stay in the field? How and where do I drop out? So then I went on after the speech therapy, after the stuttering therapy. I got to know the community building from Scott Peck,
Oh yes.
and which is a very open process. You know, circle process.
Yes.
It's very open, and just hold the space open to see what happens between people.
Right.
And there I experienced in a way the same. I mean, stuttering you treat on a practical level, on a technical level as a speech therapist. But the level underneath is this: how do we get back in contact in the communication again? And in the work of Scott Peck, you saw the people do the same. You saw fragmentation everywhere. Right. When we are just in an open process. Right. You know, so many feelings, so many thoughts, so many stuff going on. Right. That people just went into their own mental fixations and trying to find their way out again and trying to get in contact again and so on. So I went that way, yeah.
So does it work that the larger field then helps the healing process of the stutterer? In other words, if you can direct their attention to the field itself between people in the relationship, right. Does that actually help then the stuttering?
Well, yes, it does. And in the in the end, it became very important to work with stuttering people to just help them staying present in contact with their feelings, with their emotions, with everything going on in them, to help them to be open about it, you know. So in a way, dialogical work with stuttering people is a way to stay present, although there is a disturbance, which could fragment your experience, to stay in contact through that.
Yeah.
So dialogical work with stuttering became my focus, and it's to me a very important aspect of stuttering therapy. It's not the only aspect, but it's very important.
It makes me also, one of the things you wrote in the little piece you gave us was that that when we confront people with different roles that we can't understand,
Yeah.
and then you say we need to practice getting into the position that of our opposing person, and that I find very hard to do, and so it makes me think about the stuttering. It's that same idea of getting into the role of the other person, or the place of the other. Would you talk a little more about that difficulty we have?
Well, I do not know exactly how you mean the question, but you know, I see this. So dialogue is we most of the time we talk about dialogue as an exchange of mental construction, right? Words and sentences and content and so forth, and we try to exchange that in a way. But there are so many levels on dialogue. There is the whole level of non-verbal behavior, of that what we feel, that what we sense in the moment. There's a whole field going on, and in that field we have certain positions, and other people have other positions, right? So when we want to dialogue, we need to find a way to be in flow together, to be flexible, to be permeable, I think you say in English, right?
Permeable,
Yeah. And one way to practice that is to practice to see the world from the other position, to get into the other position before you fixate in your personal position and ideas and mental ideas.
Right.
You know, in dialogue we talk about suspend and inquire our assumptions, but one very important way to stay fluid in the field of dialogue is to see the world from the other position. So I would practice with stuttering, for example, to stutter myself and to feel how it is to be a stutterer in certain situations, in certain moments, you know. And that's one thing. But for example, in the dialogue work we did in Holland, the dialogue training programs, where we did 12-day programs with a group of people to practice the principles of dialogue together for a long time. I did it with Kees Voorberg, who's also on the call. So hi, Kees. We did 12-day programs to practice all these principles of dialogue and to stay in the field together. And one of the exercises we once did is also to look at the roles, the positions that are in our field, in our group, and to practice to play out how it is to be in that other position. Just to get away from your mental fixation into a whole other experience.
Which is what we try to do in dialogue anyways, with our assumptions and the views and perspectives we have, but to do it with roles would be really interesting. I know Glenn and I played around with that when we used to train people in dialogue with respect to conflict, because we would always say that the conflict really is in the field because we're too attached to whatever role we seem to find ourselves in. So if you can help people loosen that up, right, share in those roles so that they don't have to identify so much. That's what we're trying to do in dialogue anyways, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of moving fluidly and flexibly through different positions in the field, and staying open for it. I mean, and that's where for me it's very important to say dialogue is not as much a method or a technique or something, but really a personal development process, a way of being. You know, how open can I be? How receptive can I be? How can I be in an I-Thou contact with
Right.
people, with my environment, without getting stuck in my position. That would be, maybe you could say that's a spiritual practice, right? In a
Yes.
way, on a certain level. I mean,
Can you say just a little bit about how you integrate Eugene Genlin's work, focusing?
well, you know, um, I do not so much explicitly integrate it in my exercises or something, but what was very important for Eugene Gentlin, he says he very much focuses on the body experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says through his method, focusing, it becomes very clear that everything we experience is represented in our body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a feeling. We have a feeling. We have a felt sense for something. We feel every situation has its own felt sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Eugene's work was very much about that. And he said, it's not so that we are in the field or something, or that I connect to the field of someone, but we are the field. Our body is the field itself. So everything in the situation, also how we sit right now, how everybody is here, you have a felt sense for the situation. I have a felt sense for the situation, and we all have it here. We all are feeling together in some sort of a way, which is, creating that field that we are, and that is the thinking of Eugene Gentlin, very much as the body, as an ongoing process, all the time creating our reality every moment anew.
Yes.
So using body experience and be very aware about it, that's an important way I get Eugene Gentlin into the work with dialogue.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So that's maybe the most important thing for that characterizes my work or our work. I must say our work. I mean, I work with Kees in Holland, with other people, with Sabine and Benno in Austria. I call their names because I think they are on the call also.
Yes, I think.
And it's just important to me that I'm not alone here. I'm also a product of many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not at all. In fact, I think it's just about time for you to move into your exercise and your music. So we're going to let you kind of take it away.
I'll take it away. Okay, well then I take it away. So
and maybe, before you start, maybe we will, both Linda and I will also stop our videos so that it'll just be you on the screen.
Okay.
Talking with folks.
If you like to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I take it over. What I want to do is, so maybe it's the most practical way to get to know a little bit my approach to dialogue is when we go through a little process together. And the process is just a small exercise which I call sensing the dialogic field. It's an exercise in which you will notice when I don't know from what background you all are, but you will notice that there are aspects from different directions in it. You find something of Otto Scharmer, you find something of Arnold Mindell, you find something of Eugene Gentlin in the approach. Well, now, sensing the dialogic field means to me that it's important that we are aware of our body experiences when we are in dialogue together, and that we find a way to use those body experiences also to see how we can carry forward, how I can carry forward in the dialogue with you or with that field, or how we can carry forward all together. So this exercise, this little process, is an invitation to feel how it is when you get into a situation that is from your life, and you use your body experience to see where this field wants to carry forward for you. What is the next step, or what could be necessary? We use this exercise in our trainings for dialogue facilitators Sensing the dialogic field is something we do all the time, everywhere, even in the night probably, I don't know. But to do it in a conscious way, in a way that you can reproduce, can help you, especially when we facilitate dialogue, can help to feel into next steps. What can help a group? What can help a dialogue to move on? And maybe it's interesting to tell that I remember just that when I did with Kees the training programs in Holland, we often had a break in the group and there was some process going on, and then we would go out and do this little exercise in a little bit different form. I do it now, but because I'm getting older and have learned some things to it. But we used that exercise a lot to reflect on our process. So if you want to join for the exercise, I just invite you to look for a place, or to make your place a good place to sit. So see how you sit on your chair, find a relaxed place, make it even more relaxed. It's very funny that I cannot see and hear you, and I'm talking to you. It's such a funny feeling. But I'm just going to do it, and we'll see where it. Well, no, we're not going to do it. I noticed for me it would be good if you put your camera on, right? That I can see you. If you don't want to do it, it's okay. But if it's okay for you, for me it's easier. Then I can feel you a little bit better. Thank you so much. Oh God, did I feel alone? Thank you so much, right? So find just yourself a good place, a good moment that you can relax and sit, and maybe something to write if you want. If you are a writer, it's good to write a little bit. Yeah. Maybe you take a few breaths so that you feel your body. Just take a few breaths. It doesn't have to be spiritual at all. Just let the breath flow in. Take and feel your body for a moment. In the chair, in this meeting. Maybe immediately have some sort of a felt sense how it is right now for you. And maybe also in this field, in this meeting. You've heard me talking, Linda, Nancy. Maybe you have thoughts about the theme, or about how it's going, or about if it's something for you or not, or what touches you maybe. How is the feeling in your body? How are you here right now? Take a little moment for that. Right. Okay. And just if you want to emphasize your presence, or you just follow the breath again. You can always return to breath. When you are a meditator, you know how that goes. Just use the breath to breathe yourself into the moment, into your body. Now, the first step of this exercise is that I ask you to choose for yourself a field or a relationship that you are part of. Can be something from your family, something, a situation from your team or organization, a group or a community, whatever. You can choose anything, just any field in which you said, that's interesting for me to inquire. I have a question about it. That's something is worrying me, something is unclear, something wants to go on. I do not know. And very important for this exercise is that you take one situation. One situation. And I give you some time to just determine that situation. Only that one situation for now. And you hear some music, I just I'm very happy to use some music to help us feel into the situation, right? Okay. Now, if you have that situation, you chose it, then feel just for a moment how is your general felt sense about this situation. And then I take you in the next step. This next step I call seeing, right? Now close your eyes if you want to, and move into that field of that situation. See the place where you are. See the people that you're with. And notice the themes that are being talked about, as well as the themes that are maybe not talked about. Now see how the people are behaving, the gestures, moving, how are the sounds in this situation. Do you notice different roles maybe? Positions people take in the group? Does anything special in this environment catch your attention? Maybe you see the colors, the furniture, maybe the nature of that situation, and the people that are part of it. If you want to write something about it, you are happy to write. Sing a few lines and you write, and then we go to the next step. Okay. Okay. Then we go to the next step, which I call sensing, right? Now go into the situation again, or stay in it, and then notice how you feel in that situation. How do you feel? Now, how do you feel? Which sensations do you have in your body? How does your body feel? Which emotions do you experience? What is the atmosphere you register in this group? Is there a general feeling you have about this field? And maybe you have personal feelings in this situation. And could it maybe be that they are a reflection of something that is alive in this group or in this relationship? Now you take the personal feeling you have and imagine that it will be a reflection of something, of this whole. What does it tell you then about this whole situation? If you want to, you can make a short note about it, or just sing one more round. Okay. So it's very hard for me to find the right tempo. So if I'm too quick, please bear with me. If I'm too slow, please bear with me also. We go to the next step, and that is called role switching. Now the question is, which position do you take in this group? How would you call that position? How would you name it? You know? Is it, or maybe you cannot name it, but you can feel it. You have a certain position. You represent something maybe for this group. Maybe it's connected to a strong feeling or to a strong, you know, to a point of view, to a perspective you take, or you know, or a role of an initiator or an opposer, or a role of somebody who wants to keep the harmony. What is the position you take? Maybe you take more, but we just for this exercise we take one position. And I invite you to really feel that position you are in, and maybe you find a gesture or a word or a movement, if you want to express the feel of this position. What is it? What feeling does this position have? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it rough? Is it moving? What is the position? How does the position feel? And how would you name it? Here I am the and it feels like Then you look around and you look at one other position in the group from someone else, or maybe a position that you cannot understand so well, or that irritates you, or that is the reason why you chose this situation, because it gives you trouble or questions. Is there a position in the field that interests you? Maybe because it's bothering or disturbing or whatever. And then see if you can do a role switch, that you imagine you go into the position of this other person, of this other. Maybe you have to stand up and move and go into another position in the room if you want to, or you can just do it on the chair, or just change chairs, whatever you want to. You can, stand on another place, or feel how it is to. It can be very good for this part to change your position in the room. And if you don't want to show yourself with that, you can just put out your camera and do whatever you want. Get a little crazy, And this other position, just maybe you can inquire into it. How is that position? How is that energy others than mine? And when I would express it, how would I express it? How would I move in that position? What would I say? How would my voice sound in that other position? Get in that position and inquire while you're in it. Inquire it. How is that energy? How is it to be in that role? And maybe you notice something in that position that is something you do not find so easy to live yourself, or just inquire. What is that for a kind of a position? And then you can get back, if you want to, in your own position again, or in another position. Yeah. And just feel how it is and how you look at the other position. And maybe you can write something about it. What is that quality in the field that you have inquired? What did you discover about it? How is it mirroring something for you, maybe? How is it challenging something in your values, maybe? How is it a teacher for you, maybe? So this part of this exercise is it's about your fluidity, you know. You can flow with the field more instead of fixating into a mental position. Now, you could of course do that with many positions in the field, but this is just a short interview today, and I just do one position, right? Okay. Linda, can you tell me a little bit about where I am with the time? Am I too long or is it going?
You have 4 or 5 more minutes.
4 or 5 more minutes, that's good. Okay. Now we go to the next step. And the next step is a very important step. You know, in the sensing process, it's like this. You have sensed the field from different perspectives, right? Now, the next phase is to let that all go. Yeah? You know it a little bit from Otto Scharmer, letting go. Just let it drop everything of it. We want to go into a space in between, yeah? A sort of an empty space. You could call it a liminal space. Yeah? This is what we've all sensed. Now, we're going to jump into that liminal space and just drop everything. And just see how things then evolve for you. We can do it only shortly in this session. Normally, a liminal space can be a space during the night, for example. We drop everything, we go to sleep. And then maybe we know afterwards something that is necessary or that is maybe helpful for this field. Now we just do it a few minutes. And what I will do, I know, I look if I find, yeah. I play you a little music for a few minutes and I invite you to just put your cameras out and only listen to the music, right? You can move, you can dance, you can just relax, you can drink a coffee, smoke a cigarette, whatever. Whatever is an in-between space for you. Important is that you let everything go from this situation that you have sensed, and then just see if something, an idea, a feeling, a thought comes about what would be necessary here in this relationship or in this field. So you have about 3 or 4 minutes and then we return here. Okay, here we go. Here comes the music.
Saramira gonda tu mandalaga son Faratira mandate mandalaga son Foratira mandaya mandalaga sam Vanda tongkara sami vandalagatan Koramira mandatu samya fangaro sanna mangaya manda fira tu manda fira so sari mangaye ora tira mangaye ka fara manga tu Gora maratandati mandalaga som Varatira mandake kalafa sandafo Gonna maratindafu mandalaga tu Ganda sing vola mandatai sanna mangala vari kangate vari mangayu Dora maratira fu sanna mangayo vola mandasi gara mangato Karamangaye Sari mangaye
Okay, so let's get back. So this phase, Eugene Gentlin would call it dwelling in a liminal space, he would call it. And this is just, you know, the capacity to let everything go and just see what comes up from my body to this situation, what metaphors, what ideas, etc. Now, as I just said, it can take sometimes much more time than this what we have now. But there's a small taste of how we can practice to sense into the dialogic field. And what we just suggest right now is that we go into some sharing about your experience. And I asked you, Linda, if it's possible that when people get in breakout groups, that they first make a sharing round about how was your personal experience without interrupting each other, just a name, where are you from, and how was your experience, and then go into the questions you want to ask, maybe. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. So we'll be in small groups for about 20 minutes. Jane, I think you're going to put us there, right?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. And when we come back, like we do in our other sessions, we'll allow you to write any questions you have for Eelco in the chat. And we're also very open to your sharing your experiences in the full group, whoever wants to do that. Hugh, you've got a question?
I was bothered. I thought Eelco asked for something else than going straight into small groups.
No.
Maybe I misunderstood.
No.
But
we'll come back to full group, but we're going to go into small groups right now.
Yeah, it was so it was meant it was meant to go into the small groups.
All right. Okay.
In the small groups, take the first round to share about your experience, and then go into.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I've just put that in the chat thing, so it's around your name and where you're from and your experience. You know, going through that kind of process with you, Eelco, and then talk a bit more about whatever comes up. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to press the magic button and put you into your rooms.
See you back here in a little bit.
Everybody is.
We're back. Yeah.
Hey, here we are. So, I think Jane or Eelco, if we could play just a little bit of music, we'll just pause for a bit. And if you have any specific questions, be so kind as to put them in the chat. And that way Nancy and I will know who to ask for the question.
Okay, how shall we do that, Jane?
Yes, and again, if you just have a comment you want to make, please put that in as well.
Yes, so if anybody wants to say anything, just put it in the chat and then we'll call on you.
Yeah, all right.
You want
So
to
we'll give
play
a minute for that to happen.
So Eelco, do you want to do a little music? Would that
I
work?
play something, okay.
Great.
All right, okay. Shudamana maseke kumsum. Yamana la susum nun sede kokundana. Levan the sogum. Yulaman gansun sade segutum. Siumanda sopusum. Yulumanda legutum. Does it sound bad?
No,
it's good.
That's good.
Glad to hear it.
Keep going. We need a little more time for people to write into the.
Yeah, I'm going. I just put my computer down on. Sunnamanda go, say amanda go, go, go. Sunnamanda sunganda keke, hi, sakudamanda go, go, go. Ye manda seke kusunda maye gutuna. Anna mandala go sunda hekum. Anna manda masse gutunda hasego. Sanmale, sanmago. Go 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 ge go sun. Go 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 sim. Remalanda go home. Hi, Samanda go gasetu. Mamma go tumanda. Chike. Egum. While Amanda pico so condon se go tumdan se. Se Amanda maloko sundan gegundum. Go 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 go. When you're down and trouble and you need a helping hand, nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. As a friend, you've got a friend. The sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that cold north wind should begin to blow. Keep your head together, call my name out loud, and soon I'll be knocking upon your door. Okay, Jane, or?
I think that's great, Eelco. Thank you.
Right on.
That was, I think, Eelco, that people are so entranced with your music that
Right.
we have no near the number that we usually have of questions
okay.
in the that's not a bad thing, but I was just noting it that usually we've got 15 questions by now, but I think people were really wanting to hear you.
Okay.
So but let me start asking Martin if he would ask his question first, because he put one in there. Martin, will you unmute yourself and ask Eelco your question?
Yeah.
Can
you hear me?
Yes.
Ik kan je horen, Martin.
Yes. Yes. Eelco, how are you, Eelco?
Okay.
Goedenavond.
Goedenavond. That's Dutch.
Ja. Prettig met je kennis te maken.
Okay.
I speak a little bit since I was studied in Holland before. So my group asked me what, it's actually, I asked this question and my group suggests if I can ask you. So what is exactly, say, the liminal space? And I want to know how, I mean, in your personal experience, how do you feel it? And have you ever, say, been in this place yourself? And do you feel happy or sad or anything else?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. It's a very nice question. This liminal space. They say there's some sort of a space in between the things that are and the things that want to become, right? And that is we have this space in all the things we know. Right? For example, we have the day and the night, and the transfer to the next day. We have the space between the words, between our breath. There are these spaces that are sort of transfer from what is and what wants to become. And that space is some sort of a silent space. So the silences in dialogue, for example, I would call that some sort of liminal spaces in where we just wait and we do not know, And that liminal space that is often a place of uncertainty, can be a feeling in that space, unclarity. Eugene Gentlin would call it murky. He uses this word murky, a murky edge, a space where we don't know what wants to become, right? And to stay in that not knowing, I also wrote a little article about this idea of sensing the field, and it begins with the Zen saying, "Not knowing is nearest." That is the typical quality of liminal space, that we do not know. And to stay there in that not knowing, that has implicitly the highest potential of that what wants to become. So impulses for the new come from that space where we don't know, right? So your question is, have I ever been there? I guess there are a lot of times in my life that I have been in some sort of that spaces. But most of the time, I want to get out as quick as I can, right? Because it's uncomfortable. It's not what we want. We live in a strategic world. We want to do our solutions to get as fast as possible, especially in organizations. So to put, I see dialogue work as one big opportunity to bring liminal spaces to conversations, but to organizations, to relationships, and to get out of this reactiveness of having a problem and wanting to solve it directly. So I've been a lot of times in these spaces, also personally. I think, for example, personal crisis times that we feel lost in life, are often some sort of in-between spaces from something that wants to become but is not still there, right? And what was your question again? Did I feel happy, sad, or else?
Yes, how do you feel?
So
how do you feel about that? Yeah.
Often I feel in this space uneasy because my strategic mind wants to have solutions. Sometimes I feel frustrated because it's not going fast enough. But there are also times that I can enjoy it, and I sing a song or something, or I go to sleep. And I remember very well that when Kees and I did the first groups, we had process moments in the dialogue groups that were really very difficult because we invited really open process, and we did not really know where to go with it. And then we would really get together and just said we go into that not knowing. Just maybe we sleep it over. We talk a little bit, we do seeing, we do sensing, we do a little bit role switching, then we sleep it over, and then the next morning. So much about liminal space. Right.
COVID itself might be called liminal space, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you could see it like this. But I mean, I think that you define if COVID is a liminal space for you, or if you do not take it as take it for something else. You could also, but for many people, I think it's liminal. Yeah.
Renata, why don't you ask your question? So if you'd unmute yourself.
Mindell question. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned Arnold Mindell, and
Yeah.
I was really interested.
Oh,
I'm really interested how he influenced your work.
My God. That's a nasty question because.
Oh, sorry.
Because I learned the most I know about from Arnold Mindell. I learned from Kees. Also, Kees should answer the question, but it's my interview, Kees, so I talk. Okay. But how it influenced my work is very strongly because Arnold Mindell just, he defined this idea of deep democracy, right? Deep democracy is an Arnold Mindell word from process-oriented psychology. And with deep democracy, as I interpret it, means that all voices and all aspects should be included. Also the ones that are not heard, the ones that are not lived or not expressed. And his effort is to open spaces in which all the voices can be heard. Now, a lot of times in dialogue, a dialogue in itself is a deep democratic process, I think. So in that way, but to emphasize also in dialogue processes, which voices want to be spoken here and are not spoken, which people should we invite that are not being heard. That's a way the thinking about deep democracy of Arnold Mindell influenced my work, and sometimes also in the exercise case, and I did in the groups. We really invited the group to go into this unspoken voices, right, and unspoken spirits and unspoken aspects to live them and to bring them in, and so that's one way Arnold Mindell became important to me, and I read a lot then from him, from his work. So that's one aspect of it. Arnold Mindell is very much a process thinker and a field thinker, and I love field thinkers. Also, Arnold Mindell thinks in us being together as one field in which we pop up in different roles and spirits and ghosts, and how can we deal with all that? And as is Eugene Gentlin, a field thinker, and David Bohm, field thinker. So I try to be with all those guys in a way, a little bit. Yeah.
We probably have time for one or two more questions.
Oh.
Let me ask Lauren to speak her question for us.
Yeah, hi, thank you. This has been fascinating. So my question is, for those of us who aren't therapists, which is I'm one. I mean, I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in sort of work in the body, but I'm also very nervous as a facilitator because I don't have the tools to help people if they should go into trauma. So I'm thinking about, you know, the exercise you did of changing places and thinking about, you know, the racism in this country and that, you know, the trauma that lives in bodies, and, you know, imagining myself maybe before a dialogue in the classroom on race, you know, a student of color is asked to put herself in another place and the only other people in the class are white. So I'm just wondering if you could, would you say like, don't do it unless you're trained, or are there some like warnings or, yeah, what do you say to people who aren't therapists and helping people get into the body?
Well, I've two thoughts about it. The first is I'm not scared for the body, for being in the body. We are in the body all the time. We live in this thing, and this thing is everything, because, you know, we are in this world through our bodies, and so experiencing and in the body. But that's the one side of my reaction, right? So I have not a fear that I evoke trauma. I have a lot of trust in people that if they don't want to go there, that they don't go there. So the principle of equality and self-authority in dialogue is very high for me. But what I wanted to say is that I use this very explicitly most of the time with dialogue facilitators, and not in every context. I would not lead people through such an exercise, you know. For me, it's more a conversation on the level we have here, or on the level or in the function we have here. We want to facilitate groups, people, dialogue. And therefore, for me, it's very important that dialogue facilitators know how to get access to this body sensing stuff, you know, and how maybe to use music or other ways to open that field of body, whole body experiencing, or whole human being experiencing. So that's the third thing is that there are a lot of situations that I do not play my guitar. Yeah? I come into a field and I feel if and when the guitar is wanted or not, or my voice or whatever. Well, because I know when I use the voice and the guitar, I touch a certain level, you know, that can be helpful when there's enough trust. But when the trust, like you in your example, we have a lack of trust, right? There's a lot of danger in the room. So the people are not trusting. So the dialogue's field is very small, you could say. The door we get through is very small. And then I just automatically notice that I won't get my guitar. I first get my guitar when I feel the space is wide enough, or, you know, is inviting it, or the guitar can enhance something. But yeah, so that would be my answer.
That's
Is it
helpful.
an answer?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't.
Okay, let's take one more question. Helena, would you be willing to offer your question in, and you need to take yourself off mute. There you go.
I will, and I'm afraid my question has become unclear to me the more I'm listening. It's got something to do with this idea of putting oneself in somebody else's role. And I have become aware quite recently of this wanting to mentally put myself in somebody else's role. Yeah. And the necessity of really putting myself in my own body rather than trying to put myself in somebody else's thoughts. So I'm struggling a little bit with this idea of trying to put myself in somebody else's body when I'm not quite in my own, and how do I do that? So there's something around how do I do that and meet the reactions that happen in my own body, and can one really separate in the body? And this is where it gets a bit unclear, so I'll speak it and hope that you know what I mean. But once I go into my body, it's very hard to say what's mine and what's somebody else.
Yeah, I understand. So I'm not going to give an answer, but I can make up a story.
Perfect.
Now, what I think is, so I would not talk about getting to somebody else's body. So a position is something very different than a body, right? A position. So that's the first thing. That not to, you know, and when you tell your story, it's some kind of threatening to move into the other position, because something get lost or a border get lost or something. So then you could move in that situation, not so much in the position of the other one, but maybe in the position of the border. How does it feel from the border? Is there a border? There's no border, whatever. So be careful with that. You always have to be able to get in the position of another person. That can be sometimes good, but it can also be too much, right? So always here, you very clearly know where your border is in this example, and that's always much more important than the suggestion to switch roles, right? So that's my story.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the
Very
story?
useful. Very useful. Thank you.
Okay.
So I want to take a few minutes now to ask Harold, who's going to be our speaker next time, to talk a little bit about what he's going to be talking about then, and then we'll come back and we'll have time for people to online speak and speak directly to Eelco in terms of their appreciation and so forth, which we always kind of end that way. Linda will lead that. But for right now, let me turn it over to Harold and ask him to say a bit about what he's going to talk about in a month.
Good afternoon, Nancy. And first of all, let me say thanks to Eelco for that wonderful presentation today. Eelco, I was saying in my small group that I met you in, last October at the conference, and the impressions I got then and impressions I got today are quite different to some degree. I guess today what I got, you sort of built on what you demonstrated last October at the conference, and I really appreciate getting that perspective of you, the way you view dialogue and think of dialogue. I particularly like when you talk about the spaces, because I think space and silence in dialogue is so important as well. So thank you for sharing that with them.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't know what Nancy was thinking when she and Linda decided to invite me to be the speaker next month, but I certainly hope that coming on the heels of Eelco's performance, I don't disappoint. So I'm going to have to give some thought about what I want to say. So what I intend to do quickly next month is to just talk to you a little bit about the genesis of the dialogue journey that we have undertaken in not only the Virginia Department of Corrections, because it actually started before I got to Virginia. It started when I was in Nebraska and continued in Washington State, Massachusetts, and now culminating in Virginia. And so it has been a journey, and Peter Garrett and Jane has been along that journey with me for many years now, and I truly appreciate their work and their counsel. So I want to take you along that journey with us and to show you how dialogue evolved. I want to talk about the why. Why is it that dialogue is deemed to be so important in our business? And also talk about the what. The what in terms of what did we do to implement dialogue within the department, and what are we doing to sustain dialogue within the department as well? Because as you may know, corrections are large organizations. And in Virginia, we have a large organization of 46 prisons, 30,000 offenders incarcerated, but another 6,000 to 8,000 offenders in the districts on probation and parole. And they're all a part of our dialogue initiative as well. That is, the districts are a part of it. So we want to talk about what we need to implement. We want to talk about what we're doing to create sustainability, and then also give you some impressions about how things are playing out within the department. What are we seeing by way of outcomes in the department? So in a nutshell, that's what I intend to cover. Thank you.
We are very much looking forward to it, Harold, and I'm going to turn it over to Linda now to have us do our checkout.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it too, Harold. It's going to be a great presentation. So we have a few minutes to the end of the hour just to offer any reflections, any things that really touched you in Eelco's presentation and in his process that you'd like to share with the whole group. So there's quite a few of us, so I'll try to monitor. Just hold your hand up and I'll call you. Or if there's a silence, just come in. So anything you'd like to share with Eelco just as a checkout? Any reflections, ahas?
Well, we can also sing a song.
We can have, there, Renata.
I just wanted to thank Eelco. I found the process really helpful to take a pause in my potentially usual reaction state in terms of a dynamic when you asked us to think about other roles that we may be, or scenarios that we were interacting with. So it also, the sense of staying in one's own body and paying attention to one's own sensations, I think was really remarkable for me, just to, because I'm in Silicon Valley and everything is always hurtling around here at top web warp speed. So thank you for that.
Catherine. Renata, you had something you wanted to share?
Yeah, it's quite similar actually to what Catherine said. I'm impressed again, Eelco, that you can take me and us, no, let's speak for myself only, to another, another place, and to this field, and to experience something different. I just wanted you to know that I feel very, how do you say, comfortable or at ease when you speak, when I listen to your music, and that makes it, the talking afterwards, easier. So thank you. And I also had the honor to be at Eelco's place this summer, and it's really wonderful what he has in this near Vienna, in the woods, a wonderful place for his Dialogue Academy.
Okay.
Looked at it on the web.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. Peter, did you want to?
Yeah, just want to say thank you, Eelco. I know we only get a glimpse in an hour or two of a much larger body of work you've been doing, but I enjoy your acknowledgement of Case and Sabine and others, that it's a collective thing you've been working with, and you hold the space very well, the space of commitment and assurance, but also the space of inclusion. You create a kind of ease for anybody to step forward and find their own way to participate or not at whatever pace. It would have been nice to have had longer with the exercise, but I know it's not really practical, but we had a good taste of it, and I had once before, so thank you very much for taking the time and being willing to be as open as you are, and not necessarily answering questions, but finding a story that develops the thinking about it.
Okay, thank you.
Maria?
Yeah. From the little bit that I heard today, I have the impression that dialogue is part of a whole method of creating lasting community with deep respect for each other and so on. And if one day you make another presentation on all the components that you develop to create these communities where honest speech can be done, and when people really stay with the unknown. I would really like to see dialogue and all the rest, particularly the development of presence, all what you use to develop presence. Thank you very much. It was very inspiring, as always. Yeah.
And Hugh had his hand up. Hugh, do you want to unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself?
You're still muted.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you as well, Eelco. There's a line of David Bohm's which doesn't usually get into the standard literature that I've always found immensely fascinating and unfathomable. It's that everything is changed. Not everything is changing, but all is flux. And you came very close to that when you said at one point, we are the field. But there's something about the quality of how you were with us, as Peter suggests, that gets very close to that, to the embodied meaning of what it might mean to say, all is flux. If we could grasp the insights of that, I think it would be an inspiration that would carry many of us further than sometimes we get. So thank you.
Lloyd, you had your hand up. Would you like to offer a reflection? Lloyd?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. Eelco, thank you so very much for sharing time with us today. And I was so touched by your gentleness and the human warmth that is so apparent in you. And you modeled so beautifully that it isn't about techniques, it's about who you are being. And you've really expanded for me the realm of the possible dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Elizabeth, you had your hand up a bit ago. I'm going to come back to you. Could you unmute? Thanks. We're not hearing you, Elizabeth.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. I wanted to react to something that Eelco said towards the end about the lack of trust, and that there's a lot of danger in the room when there's a lack of trust. It didn't touch me, it really hit me because you put words on an experience that for me is threatening. And these are moments that are extremely difficult for me because I feel this lack of trust as a very threatening and very, very unpleasant experience and difficult to go through. But I had never spelled it out like this. Mm-hmm. So I took note, and yeah, it really hit me. And that's something I will take on. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there anyone else, or are we done?
Yeah, Sabina has one.
Sabina.
Oh, good.
And also Donna has had her hand up for a while.
Oh, good. And June has too. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you, as I do for the last, I don't know how many years, for your work, and much more for your sharing it so freely and embodying what you teach. And I want to add one thing that is really important to me, because you said something like you do sensing the field exercises with dialogue, people who want to become dialogue facilitators. I know that because I learned that from you, and I do it in organizations together with you sometimes, but also when you are not there, and it's turned out to be a very helpful practice. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Sabine.
June, did you want to offer a comment? June, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. It was amazing. I chose to go into a position of not such a good feeling. And as you walked me through the process, and especially in the liminal place, I became to a place of peace with it. And then at the very end, saying with you, you've got a friend. So thank you so much for that.
And I think Donna had her hand up at one point.
Hi there, Eelco. I really appreciate. It was more than a refresher for me, but I actually found some deep insights, and I found myself after taking a break, I'm starting to initiate things like this into my life. But I also realize I'm so eclectic too because of my diversity. And so with that being said, I noticed when I spoke in large groups of international audiences, I think some of it was intuitive, but I realized about that luminal energy and things would just come to me near the end that I hadn't had mentally mapped, but it turned out better than what I thought. And so this is consciously helping me be more aware, and I'm just more curious and learning to be the best I can be so I can facilitate, speak with audiences and try to help raise frequencies. So I feel very blessed that Dr. Karen Festi out of the University of Denver sent me the email for this. And so I'm just happy for all of you putting it together. And I really resonate with you, Eelco. So thank you so much on what you're doing and saying, and how I experienced this great experience. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Linda, can I add a comment? Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Bobby, who's not here, because having had to step into her shoes, I really appreciate what she does with the technical backup to these events. So thank you, Bobby. Eelco, just a real pleasure to hear and experience your work. I've known you for nearly 2 years, I think. And because I don't speak Dutch, I haven't been able to read your book. Though it's a beautiful colour and it sits on the shelf in our office. The front cover with the yellow flower and the blue, it's a really beautiful look. So I'm not surprised that the work is as pure and simple, if you know, in a kind of good way as it is, because that's how the book looks. And I think that body is really, there it is. Look, Renata's showing us. The physical body for me is a very important part of all of the work that we do. And I've been wrestling, probably as many people have been during COVID, about how do you work on Zoom, where it's all talking heads and you kind of feel a bit in your head after staring at a screen for hours. And if you're lucky, emotions, you get out of your head and you get some emotional kind of engagement. But what you did bring the body in very fully as well. And as we're all going to have to keep working through this medium more and more, I think wasn't just as clearly in your work, and I could imagine how you do that kind of a process when you're with people, but being able to take a group through that when we're all over the world at different times of day and night and staring at each other in little tiny squares on a screen was quite special. So I'm very appreciative of that, to have that experience at the end of my day on a Friday. I go well into my weekend. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Just, may I say shortly something? The book is written by Kees Voorberg and me together. I did not write this alone, and I want to make that very, very explicit. So,
thank you, Kees.
And Eelco, I'm wondering, before we close, if you would be willing to share, you said you had a link to your exercise and maybe to your CD, and maybe even if people speak Dutch and German, to your book. It would be wonderful.
Wait a moment, I have prepared it, but I don't know if I get to it. Oh yeah. Okay. So what do we want to have?
Put it in the chat if you would.
I have a link. Do I need a link to the article also?
That would be good. Yeah. Sure.
So here comes the link to the article.
He's doing that. Noticing Zafna, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I just actually I wrote the questions before we started summarizing. So thank you very much, Eelco, for your pleasant presence and embodying what you're talking about. I definitely join other voices here. I did have a question before summarizing whether you encounter any challenges in this work of embodying your experience and connecting to other people's experiences. If there's anything you can add in terms of challenges or difficulties with some participants in your workshop about this kind of work.
Sorry, I did not get it. You asked me a question, but I did not get. Can you give me one more time? What is your question?
Yeah, I was asking if you encounter any challenges or difficulties with participants in your workshop in terms of connecting, embodying or connecting to their body, and also putting themselves in the shoes of others. If you have any challenges or difficulties with some participants.
Shall I answer that, Linda? Or?
Sure, we have a few minutes. Yeah.
Yes. So I know very well difficulties for people to role switch, to get into other positions. That is not for everybody such a thing, you know. Some people are easy with that, some people are not so easy with that. But I don't encounter big problems with body experience in workshops, because it's not something it's not something that's being put upon the people as an exercise they have to do, but it's more coming forth out of the process of dialogue that we integrate in where we are to put some body experiences to it. And therefore, most of the time, it's a natural enhancement, or how do you say that in English? A natural contribution to what already is. And when it's not, I will not put exercises and push it into the people. And therefore, I do not meet these problems very, very often. Okay?
So any other reflections? Well, I think maybe.
I'll share one, actually. Okay. So I'm Annette from Santa Monica, and it was really, first of all, I'm so deeply moved and grateful for what you put out. And it was interesting for me because in the very beginning, when you were talking about the stuttering experience, I was thinking about people with, speaking in different languages, or personally, if you lose a word in the middle of a sentence, and if you're someone who thinks out loud, what that process is like. It's that same element of fragmentation and trying to reconnect with the field. So I was grateful for the example because it brought me to that insight. And then later, when you went into the liminal space, I started tearing, and I kid you not, it's like the heart space and the expansion that I've continued to feel. It's just beyond anything else I can really capture. I was almost like, do I say this on video or whatever? But deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for the process and the way you went through it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well.
Hey, Linda.
Maybe. Yes.
Linda, there. This
yes.
is James Sater.
Yes.
I just like to say this is my first time with you guys, and I'm a student of Peter and James for about 7 years. But Eelco, you actually put some tools in my toolbox, and I really, really appreciate that. And again, somebody's been at this for a little bit. I'm always willing to learn or to alter things or change things for positive movement. And I really appreciate you guys. I had no idea y'all were out there, okay, until this right here. I was invited to it, and I really, really appreciate you guys and hope to continue, keep it up. So thank you very much.
And I should remind people that if you belong to the Academy, all of these interviews that we've done, I guess this is the 6th one if I'm counting right, are on the website. And you can go in and listen to what people have said. Mary Eve was our first one, which was a wonderful interview. And we've had 4 other ones. Peter talked with us. And so go in and explore some of those other interviews as well. And then Eelco's will be up when we've sort of doctored a little bit. So, and my thanks too. I don't want to end without expressing my thanks, Eelco, for such a wonderful experience for all of us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Very welcome. Well, it was a joy.
I wanted to thank you too, Eelco. This has been so meaningful for me because I realize I've spent some time studying with Mindell and Eugene Genlin's work. I can never get his name out. And it was wonderful to see how you've integrated that material, and I can imagine using it in my own work. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.
don't forget, if you are new to the Academy, as Nancy said, we are offering 3 months free membership, and we do have that conference coming up in October. So just a reminder.
Can I say one sort of? Well,
Sure.
I put some links into the chat. So there's a link to the article about this, a link to the exercise, and I put a little link if you are interested in stuttering. You know, my heart is still very much with stuttering children. That's my work besides dialogic work. And there's a little book for stuttering children in which you can read how we try to reframe stuttering so that children can stay part of the dialogic field they're in and not hop out. So if you like to read it, it's free. And if you know a stuttering child anywhere on this world, I would be happy if you carry it forward to them, right? And then you have a possibility to get music if you want. It's a little bit difficult. It's a Dutch website, but I guess you work your way through. When you want to have something like, or write me an email or something.
What does the last line, "Sari man gaye," mean? And I know I didn't say that right, but when you were singing the last line, there was a couple of times, "Sari man gaye."
Yeah, Sari man gaye, yeah.
What does it mean translated?
It has no translation. You know, maybe it's just good to say that when I sing this kind of intuitive music, I do not sing a specific language. Because as soon as I make language out of it, I get fixated in my mental state and I just flow with whatever comes. Right.
Thanks.
Okay. I thank you all very much. It was a joy to be here, to be with you. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Okay.
We hope to see you next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.